Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and in this video, I'm going to talk about why I think a guaranteed event for a Void Legendary is going to be coming soon to Raid Shadow Legends, and then what champion I think is going to be the guaranteed event. I ended up predicting correctly that Shogger had a very high likelihood of being a guaranteed event, and then in January, we saw them come out with the guaranteed Shogger. So I'm going to see if I can do the same thing again and predict what the next guaranteed Void Legendary is going to be in Raid Shadow Legends. Let's get into it. Alrighty, now by the way, anything that I use in this video, I will link to it down below. It's all on our website for you to check whenever you would like to in terms of the Void Legendary tier list and also the guaranteed events history here, the infographic that we have. But so it's very obvious that Plarium made a concerted effort as we were approaching 2023. They were going to do a lot more Void Legendary events. You could see the obvious shift. You could see that up here, you get like a Void every now and then, Void event, and then all of a sudden right here, look at like after about the middle of 2022, void, just constantly slamming those void events. And it's really not much of a surprise this ended up happening, because what Plarium is learning is that their biggest moneymaker in the game is void shards and void champions. That's because your end game players that are high spenders, they always prioritize getting void shards and going after the void champions to get them empowered and all of that, because most of the best legendaries in the game are obviously going to be void legendaries. So what ends up happening is Plarium goes, okay, if void shards are the things that make us the most money, and it's what high spenders want to spend on the most, so we can earn the most revenue, let's go ahead and see how much we can ramp up these events to maximize revenue. This isn't rocket science. This is exactly what's going on and the thought process that's probably occurring in their head. So if we're going to be seeing more guaranteed void legendary events, we haven't seen one since March. Now, we didn't get one in April, obviously, which means I think for sure we're going to be getting one in May, a guaranteed void event. And maybe the reason this happened is Plarium's trying to find that sweet spot. They found out that like this was just way too fast. Like, because you get the players like me that would be maybe like in that low to mid spending tier that are like, okay, I'm not gonna buy 110 void shards every week. Like, this is just crazy. So maybe what they found was, okay, we a little bit too hard in the paint. Let's calm down a little bit, and let's maybe think about doing these every 6 weeks or so instead of every 3 weeks. And that's what they're doing. They're trying to find that sweet spot of how often they can do these guaranteed events for these different kinds of shards where the player base will be excited to get after them. But I think especially because it's been over a month now, we are due any week now for a guaranteed Void Legendary event. So then let's flip on over to the Void Legendary tier list so we can have all of the Void Legendaries in the game kind of illustrated in front of us while we talk about it. Now, previously, when I predicted that they would probably go with a Shogger event, that is because they released the Sand Devil's Necropolis, and it was a hot topic at the time, and Shogger was a hot champion at the time. He was really moving up the board in terms of desirability because people really wanted him to help with their Sand Devil teams. And he was also, as people used him more, they were unlocking a little bit more excitement about him as a champion, and he was definitely trending upward within the context of the Void Legendaries in the game. So it just kind of made sense that he would be one of those champions Plarium might look to for a guaranteed summon event. But now the landscape is a little bit different. I would say that the hot topics right now would be Live Arena or Hydra, something like that. So like what champions are sliding up the board in terms of Hydra and Live Arena? And I don't know that they would do a guaranteed event for a champion kind of up in this tier. Like, you usually see like your Acrisias and your Yumikos and your Marichkas and stuff like that. They're usually 10x events that aren't going to be a guaranteed summon event. When they do a guarantee, it's usually they did one for Terval, they did Shogger, they did Ileal, I think. Did they do Ileal? Yeah, they definitely did Ileal down here back in December of 2022. So yeah, I don't think have they ever done a top tier champion like it's like somebody up there in the S tier. Riho would be a close candidate, but Riho isn't as common in PvP as you would think. So yeah, I don't think they've ever done like a Sify, Yumiko, a Krigia level champion in a guaranteed summon event. So it's probably gonna be somebody in like this range right here, because if they do a champion at down here, it's not going to be very sought after. Like if they do a guarantee for like Supreme Aethel or something, or like Gurgo, it's not going to get any sort of revenue for them because it's not going to be a highly sought after champion. So I'm guessing somewhere in between like 11 and 30 would be that range they're going to look towards. And they just did a 10x for Leorius, so I doubt they would go that route. You know what? Honestly, I could see it being Cardial. I could see Cardial being a guaranteed summon event, because he does help in the Sand Devil Necropolis. It's similar to the Shonger event with the revive on death and all of that. He's got the ally attack, and he's also pretty solid in the live arena. So I think he would be a decent choice for a guaranteed summon event. Is there anyone else that's jumping off the board? They already did one for Tervald. Tervald is a little bit of a hot topic in the live arena because he's a self-buffing DPS that's really sliding up the meta. Like Ursaga isn't really hot right now. If anything, Ursaga is sliding down. Yeah, like some of these Supreme champions that kind of that ship sailed with the 4th anniversary type stuff. I don't think it's gonna be Warlord. I don't see Warlord like moving up significantly or being super exciting, even though he is an amazing champion. Baron, maybe Baron, but I feel like they've done a lot of stuff for damage dealers lately. Yeah, I honestly think if you made me pick, I would say that the most likely one is going to be a guaranteed Cardial. I think when I'm just assessing the list and assessing the landscape of the game, I think it makes the most sense. And hopefully they don't go with a bunch of inflation. We've seen them try out different requirements for shards and going for some of these events. Like we've seen them kind of level out at 110. It looks like the last... Yeah, so they used to do them, like Fortis was 80, but that was a meme. Basically, no one went for it. Riho for 90 was one of the better deals they did. Then they power crept this stuff from like 90, 80, 90, whatever, to all the way up to 110. So hopefully it doesn't go to 120. If it goes to 120, I think you're going to see a big dip in the morale, and a lot of the more mid-level type spender players would say screw that and not go for it, and they would only be catering to the absolute highest tier of spending, and they're going to have to find that min-max point. So I think that min-max point would honestly be like a nice even 100, but they don't want to get into a spot where they raise it to 100 and then raise it to 110. They probably wanted to go to 110, and then if anything, get like the PR win of lowering it to 100. So if I had to guess what the next guaranteed Void champion is going to be, I'm going to go on record with my prediction as Cardial for 100 to 110 Void shards, and I'm going to say that this probably happens at some point during the next 2 to 3 weeks, trying to maybe coincide at some point or slide in there in the early part of a week during the Jetney fusion. I always want to say Jet Li whenever I talk about that new champion, but during the Jetney fusion, the new one that's kicking off here next Thursday, it's probably going to be double dipping at some point during that event. And I would say the highest likelihood champion would be Cardial, in my opinion. But if they didn't do Cardial, who might they do? I think Necrit's a possibility, but Necrit would probably be like 120, 130 voids, and the player base might not like that. I don't think they would do Gjorgid. He's a little bit too hot of a DPS commodity right now. I don't think they would quite do Gjorgid. Baron's a possibility. Like they might do a guaranteed event for Baron. I don't think it's as likely as Cardio, but that might be my second choice. Like, if it's not Baron, who would it be? Tahanarok would be, or wait, have they done one for her? I don't think they have, and that would definitely be a decent choice. Tahanarok's an amazing champion, but like I would want to have a list of 3. So I'd probably say Cardial 1, Baron 2, and then who would be the third most likely? You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to say the third most likely is going to be Necrit. So Cardial, I think, is by far the most likely to be the next guarantee. And then after that, I would say Baron and Necrit to round out my top 3 for predicting the next Void guarantee that we're going to see in game. So yeah, and I will link to both of the resources used in this video, both the Void Legendary tier list and then also the Guaranteed Summon event, if you would like to take a look. And we have exhausted Neo. Neo, you want to wake up? We have exhausted Neo talking about the Void Legendaries. He's exhausted with all these guaranteed events, just like all of us are. So yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be happening soon, and it's probably going to be Cardial, Baron, or Necrit as the next guaranteed if I had to predict. So let me know down below what you think in your opinion. Did I miss something that would have made sense to talk about in this video? Is there a reason that you think a certain champion would be featured that I didn't kind of talk about and all of that? It's always interesting to hear your perspectives down below as well. So remember to subscribe on your way out if you enjoy daily Raid Shadow Legends content. I appreciate all of you. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Peace.